Welcome to the Startempire Wire Founders Podcast, where we make entrepreneurial founders a top priority. Each episode features risk takers, business builders, community shapers, institutional and government supporters in our local startup ecosystem. Tune in weekly to hear all about what's happening with the movers and the shakers of Southern California's Inland Empire and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Founders Podcast, where we cover all of the startups here in the Inland Empire and anyone who's in the startup ecosystem who is contributing back, whether it be government officials or, entrepreneurs, university leaders. Today we have Andrew Crawford, a compliance specialist. He's a great friend of mine who we know from, Techo Tuesday, and we've met each other at several different places. But we want Andrew to really tell us about who he is, where he's from, what is he doing right now with compliance specialists, and also he runs a meetup. It's called Cyber Talks. So we're going to get into a little bit of everything. So Andrew, tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you. I've been in the computer industry for a long time, and about 5 years back, there was a trend that I was beginning to see. And as things converged together, I really felt like somebody needed to do something for the very smallest U.S. businesses. The guys that are 10 or less employees and they're connected to the internet, because there are internet criminals out there that are looking to victimize them. They don't have the technical know-how to protect themselves. They don't have an IT guy. They don't have a managed service provider. They're building their widgets. They're making their thing. They're selling their product. And cybersecurity is a foreign word, so we try not to use that word. We try to use the fact that people are vulnerable to attack. And hackers is another one of those terms that IT people use. So we try to tell people they're internet criminals.
Internet criminals, okay.
Anywhere in the world, they can reach out and attack your stuff. And the problem is things have changed. I was talking to somebody the other day that, I haven't been breached in the last 14 years. Okay, that's like saying you haven't had a flat tire in your car in 14 years. What about tomorrow?
Right.
The world has changed, and so we changed with it. We decided we need to do something about these vulnerable businesses that are small.
Yes.
And there's actually about 32 million of them in the United States, and they employ the majority of people.
That's a lot. Yeah, absolutely. So, Andrew, I met you first time at not Techo Tuesday. It was actually at Inland Empire Startup Week.
Right.
It was really awesome event, right?
Yeah.
You guys did a 2-hour session there?
We did something. I don't remember now.
Okay, it was like 2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I met you through your session, and I attended your session, and then I began to see you in the community as well. So, can you tell people, where did you grow up at? Were you local here always? What?
I'll give some details. As you know, personally identifiable information is used by the internet criminals to research you, so I'm careful with what I share.
All right.
But I did grow up, and you'll find this stuff on social media. So I did grow up in Davis, California. Then at about 20 years old, I met a young lady in a youth with a mission school in Hawaii.
YWAM.
Yep. And then came back to the Sacramento area, and unemployment was running about 22%. I couldn't even find a job in what I had been doing prior to going to YWAM. And so my previous employer hired me for their sales in January, and of course that was only for the month of January. Then I headed down to Southern California and said, I'll visit the girlfriend and see if I can find a job. 4 days later, I had a job, and I like to eat, so I've never left.
That's great.
And it was About 5 years later from that I actually entered the computer industry.
Okay.
I thought I originally wanted to be a programmer.
Yes.
And so I took some computer classes to kind of prepare myself, and then I decided I would get a job in the industry. Didn't care what it was, beginner job, just get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And kind gentleman at Century 21 was looking for a computer operator with no experience. And so I interviewed, and he said, "Why did you respond to the ad?" I said, remember, no internet at that time. This was an ad in the newspaper, okay?
Yeah.
I said, "Well, it said no experience, and that's me." So he hired me.
Awesome.
Later, years later, I asked him, "Why did you hire me?" He said, "I wanted to be able to train somebody my way."
Oh.
There's a good reason to hire
smart.
someone with no experience. So any of you out there that don't have experience, don't think that's a bad thing.
That's great.
Sometimes that is the right thing. Okay? You hire somebody with preconceived notions of what they think they're going to be doing, you got problems from the get-go. You hire somebody that's newbie and just does what they're told, they'll go far.
And that's the key.
Why do I say that? I say that because it was that person that launched me into lands.
Yeah.
And at that time, they were fairly new.
Okay.
It was kind of a new thing that was coming. And I ended up becoming a 3Com3 wizard, which there are only a few of. And then Microsoft.
Can you explain a 3Com3 wizard to our audience?
3Com was in bed with Microsoft, and they were building servers, and it was an operating system, a 3Com operating system that ran on their headless servers.
Okay.
Microsoft then bailed and decided they were going to rip off 3Com, and they came up with the NT server. Well, surprisingly, all the commands in 3Com's world worked in the NT world.
Oh.
Because it was their code.
They ripped it off. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely they did. And don't sue me, Microsoft. That's long past. But the point is, I got my feet wet early into the networking world, and so I have been known as a network engineer most of my life. And I worked my way up through. I've known more operating systems than most people even know or around.
Wow.
There was a Banyan, there was a 3Com, there was a Novell, there was Microsoft's NT, what was it called? At any rate, that's ancient history.
No, that's great.
Done a lot of it, okay?
Yeah.
Done things that people said couldn't be done. Ran Windows 3 on 286 computers.
Whoa.
Okay? And what I discovered down through the years, what my strength is the ability to build systems.
To build systems, okay.
Okay? And this lends itself in a number of different areas.
Yes.
So when I come to this challenge of providing the services that a small business needs to actually be compliant with data security and privacy laws, it's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of places out there, it's $1,000 a month, it's $1,500 a month, it's $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
I was talking to one guy, I think, don't quote me, but I think it was $1,500 per seat.
Per seat?
Per seat. Okay?
Wow.
Now, they did everything. I mean, absolutely everything for the customer.
Right.
You didn't have any extra bills.
Managed,
but a lot of small businesses can't afford that kind of stuff. They just can't. Okay?
Nope.
And so my approach is there's got to be a way to do this. And I have been working diligently. I continue to work diligently on this. Whenever I find a product that takes care of a specific thing that we need covered to be compliant, then I look hard at that. And if I can get that product where I'm not having to buy 500 licenses to get started, then I'm interested.
Okay.
And because all my customers are small.
Right.
And that's who I want. I want the small guys because they're the ones that are so vulnerable, they don't even know it. They don't even realize it. And they don't even talk about it. And
no, it never becomes the topic of conversation until it happens. Until
if you watch carefully, you'll find it in the news.
Yeah.
Okay? A friend of mine sent me an article that appeared in the LA Times about a guy that got hacked. He was a single guy, but he was making really good money.
Yeah.
And it completely devastated his business. He wasn't even certain he could recover.
Oh.
Now, you don't normally hear about those guys. They just disappear, right?
Yep.
So here was a news article. They actually chronicled what happened. And he said, you know what I did bad? He said, I reused my admin password on a different thing, and they got in.
Bad mistake.
Yeah. You know, so if you go to our website, compliancespecialistusa.com, you'll find information. One of the things that we have is a password manager.
The Inland Empire startup ecosystem industry is tremendously fragmented. A few top-tier hubs, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, are well covered by media, events, and data platforms. Finding reliable information relevant to startups or the tech industry in the Inland Empire is extremely difficult. As a result, startups can't scale fast enough. Investors are having a hard time finding the right deals, and corporates can't find the right companies to partner with for their innovation activities. Startempire Wire, the leading Inland Empire startup publication, is providing the Inland Empire startup ecosystem with the most accurate, engaging business and financial data, events, and news. Our reach of entrepreneurs, C-level executives, angels, VC investors, startup employees, key management at innovative corporates, and big tech is the solution for your B2B or B2C needs. As we build out our platform, we're looking for partners. This is your opportunity to get in on the ground level. If you're looking to align yourself with the local and growing startup and tech ecosystem of the Inland Empire, we have created the platform to get your name noticed and the opportunity for you to grow the recognition of your brand. Contact us today for availability and pricing options. We look forward to our partnership with you. Okay, before we go there, Andrew, tell us, how did you start Compliance Specialist? You know, give us a little bit of the background behind, you know, you told us some of your history, but give us a background of why did you feel the need?
I had a previous business called Network Solutions and Consulting Services.
Okay.
And I found and got frustrated with the lack of traction that my name got or what I was trying to do.
Yes.
And so I shut down all marketing and just kind of started praying about it.
Yes.
Trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Because nothing was working. I was doing everything they say to do. Ran across a gentleman by the name of Rich Kozak. Rich Brands, Impact-Driven Marketing.
Yes.
He adds rocket fuel to your marketing.
Really?
To your brand.
Yes.
And so he and I sat down. He runs workshops. And he and I sat down, and the more he talked, the more I realized what he had is what I needed.
Right.
And so he looked at what I was doing, and we came up with a new name. We came up with a new logo. We came up with the language that we want to use, because we don't want to talk over the head of the small business guy. They talk to a techie, and they don't understand 50% of what he says, so they feel intimidated.
Right.
Why do you want to work with somebody like that? I don't even understand what the guy told me.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
We've got to bring it down to the average businessman, not lowering it, but changing the language to something they understand.
You got a very snazzy branding look and feel too. I like it. So
Rich Kozak has done a fantastic job, and I would recommend him highly for anybody who wants to take their brand from zero to go. I'm serious, okay? And he does this all the time.
Okay.
And so I'm promoting somebody else, but that's okay, because he really has done a fantastic job.
Is he in the Inland Empire?
He is in Hacienda Heights.
Okay.
So not quite the Inland Empire, but he works with
that's LA, right? That's LA?
LA County, yeah.
LA County. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, cool. So he helped you rebrand everything.
Mhm.
You become compliance specialist. Okay, so at this point, like now, like, can we talk about some of the specific things that you do? What are what are the services specifically that you're offering to startups?
If you go to our website to the Protecting You tab, you will find our services.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 tiers of compliance programs.
Okay.
And the beginning one, Stepping Stone Security, is where most people would start.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know nothing about compliance, that's the best way to start.
Can you just say that for our audience? Compliance to what?
Compliance is, according to the government, there's a bunch of data security laws and privacy laws out there. But the basic definition of compliance is that you are meeting the minimum requirements that the government says you, if you're in business, need to have to be considered secure.
Okay.
Now, there's big arguments in the IT world about security versus compliance. Not getting into that because I don't agree with all of them. Mm-hmm. Rather, it's the minimum level you're expected to have. Now, here's what the government does. They publish a standard. Mm-hmm. Here it is, free. All you got to do is click on it. You can download it yourself. Here's the trick about the government publishing something. Now it becomes the measuring stick. Okay?
Right.
So, you read.
So what are a few of these standards? Can you name a few of them? Because people
there are frameworks out there.
Yeah.
If you're in the government, you'll hear a lot about CMMC.
Okay.
If you are in the financial industry, you'll hear about GLBA.
Okay.
If you're in the medical industry, you'll hear about HIPAA.
Yeah.
If you're in anything else, if you're in California, you've heard of CCPA.
CCPA.
These are all frameworks or various pieces of legislation that exist. They have the force of law behind them, and this is something I try to stress to people when we're talking about this level of stuff. Mm-hmm. Please understand, this isn't a recommendation.
Yeah.
This is a law.
Yeah.
And it has consequences.
Yeah.
And if they decide to enforce those consequences on you, not only does the data breach cost you money, but then the government fine and the requirements they levy on you because you weren't doing what was expected. So now you get to pay for the government auditor to check on you all the time.
Oof.
At your expense. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it gets expensive.
Yeah.
That's why you'll read about these settlements where these companies settle out of court for these massive amounts of money because they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing.
So who typically gets like who does the government typically crack down on or not?
Well, the government, typical of
for
the
not
government,
complying.
they try to pick the biggest fish they can find.
Okay.
To try to make the biggest splash they can.
Yeah.
So that the smaller companies will go, oh,
take note of it.
Get in line. Okay.
Right.
But that isn't to say that some of the judgments that have happened haven't happened to small companies. Mm-hmm. I think of several of them where there was just, if you look the company up, you discover there's only like 2 or 3 doctors. They're just a small group that screwed up and got caught. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, small business likes to try and not get caught.
Yeah.
Okay?
Fly under the radar.
They try. Okay. But here's the problem with that. And actually, right now, Uber's getting caught for doing that.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
He's getting roasted for trying to hide the fact that they were breached.
Yeah.
Now, he's a big fly.
The Uber files. I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but BuzzFeed published a bunch of information that Uber had been hacked, and BuzzFeed was the one who
tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
There was a lawsuit I remember was against the, and this is the other parts. Sorry, I'm jumping.
No problem.
The head of the company.
Yes.
Is who they go after.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
The head of the company is responsible for the risks the company takes, large or small. Okay.
Okay.
If you don't protect personally identifiable information,
Okay.
which can be as little as an email and a name, you could fall into the category of not being compliant and be subject to various
penalties,
fines, penalties, and restrictions.
Okay.
Years ago, there was a mortgage company in Orange County who wired money to the wrong place. Okay? They got about half of it back, the other half they didn't. Well, by the time the government got done with them, the head person was basically not only in business, they were told they could never go back into that business ever again.
Oh, wow.
They were so negligent in their security measures.
Wow.
Okay?
Big mistake.
Yeah. But I don't want to see this happen to small businesses. And what happens to small businesses, mom and pop businesses, they fold. They fold, they go out of business, they go bankrupt, and all the people that were employed have to go find work somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay? But it doesn't make the news.
Doesn't make the news.
Doesn't make the news. I was talking to a business and he said, man, you should have been here a couple weeks ago. He points across the alley to another place. He said, the FBI came and took their servers away because they got hacked.
Oh, man.
Okay? You never heard that in the news. I never heard it in the news. You don't hear about the little guys.
Yeah, that's right. You never do.
And that's part of the difficulty I have, is trying to reach out and convince the small business owners this is reality.
Yeah.
The reality is you are vulnerable, and if you don't keep things up to date, keep them patched, keep your virus stuff handy, active, keep your systems patched, train your employees so they don't click on that doggone new invoice. Right. That wasn't real.
Yeah.
If you don't have technical security in place, if you don't have good backups that you actually have tested, there's cities on the East Coast that end up paying ransomware because their backups were bad.
Oh, so it's like Schrodinger's backup, right? It's like you is the backup really there? Does it really work, or is it functional?
We do a couple things.
Okay.
First of all, you automate your backup. And you monitor it. So if it fails for some reason, start paying attention.
Paying attention to the failures.
Second thing you do, compliance says you're going to periodically test it by doing a restore.
A restore. Okay, periodically. How, like maybe once per quarter, or?
Whatever makes the business comfortable. See, that's the funny thing about these laws. They're not specific necessarily, they're general.
Right.
So periodic could be once a year.
Once a year.
For a small business, maybe that's fine.
Okay.
But here's the trick. Let's say you got breached. Government comes along and says, okay, when was the last time you checked your backup? And you go, I don't know. Fail.
Yeah.
Okay?
Fail. Yeah.
If you go, well, our compliance program says, and we checked it last March. You just passed.
You're writing compliance. You help them write compliance policies?
We have policies.
Okay.
They need to write procedures.
How
do you do something? What this does, small business is terrible at documentation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes. Okay.
But what this does is it forces you, how are you doing something? When you got it documented, you're already 2 steps ahead of your competition. Why? Because the next person you train has something to follow.
Yeah.
Your security measures stay in place because now you have a set procedure that you can slap people's hands if they're not doing it.
Yes.
If it's not written, who cares?
And Andrew, that kind of plays into a concept that we like to talk about here on the Founders Podcast is, scalability. Can your business scale?
Absolutely.
And in order to have a scalable business, you need to not be the center of the business, right? And then you need to have documentation for everything and processes to be able to scale.
Right.
That's really good.
And we actually help companies do that. That's why we say we're protecting you to grow.
And that totally makes sense. Yeah. Yes.
You start bringing form and order to things. Okay. Compliance will make you stop and think about things you haven't thought of before. I do this all the time with clients.
Yes.
We go, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, didn't think about that before.
Yeah, yeah. So,
What about let's think of a small manufacturing place. Okay.
mhm.
They get a contract to do something that's sensitive
Yeah.
with the government somewhere. We don't know
Okay.
what it is. We don't care. Just something sensitive, okay?
Yes.
All of a sudden, they need to be controlling who's walking in the door,
Mm.
okay? Because not
Yes.
everybody can just see what's going on, right?
That's true.
Well, what about the open bays they got? Do they have any cameras?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, all of a
Right.
sudden, you begin to, how are we controlling access to this stuff? Okay? Well,
Wow.
we're not all government contractors.
Yes.
But let's face it, all of us collect personally identifiable information from
Yes.
the people we deal with.
That's correct.
And we are required to keep it safe.
Yeah. It's so good.
Now, the number one hole in small businesses is their password or lack thereof.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And it's on the list every year after year. It's in one of the top 10
Yeah.
passwords used. It is in every breach list.
Or password. Password.
Don't do it, okay? So one of the first things we talk about, it's one of the first policies, talks about passwords. And then we highly recommend the use of a password manager. So much
Yes.
so, we actually resell one.
Very nice.
The one I selected, and the reason I selected it, is because the business owner, you put out a policy that says your password has to be complex.
Yes.
Okay, great. How do you know any of your people are following that policy? Now, you can't know their passwords. That's
Nope.
against policy, right?
Right.
But this product gives you a dashboard where it gives you some meters that shows you how compliant they are.
That's great.
So if Johnny doesn't have, he's using unique passwords, it shows up on the dashboard, you can tell Johnny, hey, please fix that.
Right.
Okay?
That's great.
Now, as a business owner, I can sleep well at night because I know my people have strong passwords, they're not reusing them, and
Yes.
it's not vulnerable to attack because they're not storing it in their browser.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God. Never
Are you
use a
doing any of
browser.
these?
Oh, no. I actually use a password manager. I've been through your compliance course, but also I'm always in tech, So
Right.
yeah, I actually love. There's a password manager called Bitwarden.
Whatever, I don't care what people are using as long
Right.
as they use one.
Yeah,
okay?
that's right. That's right.
And don't quit because LastPass got some of their code stolen, okay?
Oh, LastPass got hacked, right?
Yeah, they got hacked, but it was some of their code that got stolen. It was not the
Okay.
production system.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
But I'm sure they're going to be scrambling for a while. But that's a different subject, okay? The fact is they actually spotted it,
Yes.
okay? And they did
Yep.
something about it.
And they did something about it.
Okay?
Right.
I will guarantee you they have a compliance program in place. Okay?
Yes.
When you hear of somebody that didn't know they were hacked for half a year, 3/4 of a year.
Wasn't there was a story that came out recently? Was it Facebook or I don't know. I think it was Facebook recently.
I get daily notifications of things.
Wow.
It's always happening. This is not something that's going away. It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
Ransomware is the next
Okay.
big thing.
Yes.
And we actually sell a product that kills ransomware.
Oh, cool.
So if you get ransomware on your system, it'll kill it before it gets very far and let you know.
Wow. So it monitors in the background, huh?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
I consider this an extremely valuable tool for the small businessman. Why?
Yes.
Because they won't know until it's too late. By the time the screen says, "Oh, we would like some Bitcoin from you," it's too late.
too
Okay,
late,
you got to
yeah.
kill that thing before it starts.
Early on. Yeah.
The problem is somebody clicks on the wrong thing. It only takes seconds for that stuff to install and start going.
That's true. Okay. Yep.
So train your people so they don't click on wrong things. Put technology in place so you don't end up hooking to known bad places that
Right.
deliver this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We changed the way the computer's set up so that there's an admin login separate from your user daily login.
Yes.
This way, if something tries to install in the background, it's going to pop up and ask for a password, and you're going to look at it and say, what the heck is going on now?
Right.
It
Right.
stops it, okay?
Oh, that's good.
It's a simple thing.
Simple
Who
thing.
does it? Almost nobody.
Nobody. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Almost nobody. I mean, these are the kinds of things that we bring into a business. Yeah, we change the way things are done. And the hardest thing for a small business is to change the way they're doing things.
Yes.
But it's got to happen.
And the processes are needed. Right.
If it doesn't happen, you're wide open, and they'll just pick low-hanging fruit whenever they feel like it.
Right.
You
So,
know?
Andrew, tell us about.
Am I passionate about this?
You're very passionate about it. That's why I wanted to get you on the interview. Yes.
I can't help it because I just feel like the best kinds of businesses are so vulnerable.
Right.
And I'm not worried about the big business. They've got the budgets, they've got the people, they know about it.
Yes.
It's the little guy that's been in business for the last 10 years, 15 years, and doesn't realize.
Tell us one of your worst case scenarios where you had.
Well, I'll tell you about a close call.
Stuff. Okay.
Okay, I can tell you about a close call.
Okay.
One of my clients got hold of me, and they said, "Hey, I got this invoice from our vendor, and when I clicked on it, nothing happened. So I was busy. I didn't worry about it. And then later, we got an email from them that said they were hacked."
Oh, their vendor?
And I said, "Okay." I said, "This is why we train you to take a look at things. This is why we have
it was a
security
phishing
training."
email.
Okay. You should have looked at that email closer.
Ooh.
Okay? It was a phishing email, and the only thing that stopped them from getting hacked was some of the technology we had in place that blocked that going to that website.
Wow.
That's how close they came.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
business owners get busy, right?
yeah. Well, this was the front desk gal that handles the invoicing, right?
Oh, yes. Okay.
She didn't think about it when she clicked on it, and it didn't do anything, and she just figured, oh, it's a broken link or whatever, right?
Right.
It wasn't a broken link. It was a phishing attempt from the vendor that had already been hacked.
Oh.
And the only reason that she didn't get hacked is because we had some protection in place.
Wow, that's great.
Now, I recommend more training.
Right.
She shouldn't have clicked on it to begin with. Something should have flagged her looking at that thing going, there's something weird here.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right.
I have clients that regularly say, they'll send me something and say, look at this one, ha ha ha, I didn't fall for it. You know? But
Yes.
they're getting really good at those phishing emails.
And notice, they are. And they're starting to send these text messages now, too.
Oh, do not
spam text
click on
messages.
any of those?
Yeah, I know.
You bring up a good point, though.
Yeah.
Mobile devices are an overlooked part of cybersecurity.
Right.
Okay?
That's true.
And part of the compliance program, we'll talk about what are you doing with your mobile? How are you dealing with it? Get protection on it.
Yes.
Don't.
That's good.
These little phones we have are more powerful than PCs 10 years ago.
Yep, and most of them are, sometimes as powerful as, some laptops, right?
And they're always connected.
Yep, that's so true. That's so true.
And
So
if
tell
you
us-
don't have protection,
Yeah, it's not going to be good at all.
they'll get your business too because they'll use it to get into your stuff.
Right.
You know?
Tell us about a few growing pains. As you built out your business, Andrew, what would be the top growing pain that you could identify?
For most small businesses, it's actually the same one. And that is the owner can't do everything.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
the hard thing for me was letting go of certain things and letting other people start doing these things.
Delegation, huh?
Delegation.
Okay.
But it isn't just delegation. It's the the me letting go.
Oh, yes. Ah,
Okay?
yes.
Letting someone else do that portion. That has, because you get dependent upon yourself, you're used to doing everything.
That is so
But
true.
in reality, you can't.
You can't.
And so if you're not a technical savvy computer compliant type of guy, then I recommend you outsource.
Outsource, yeah.
Whether
absolutely.
it's me or somebody else is doing this kind of thing, I don't care. Just stop trying to do it yourself.
That's good. That is really good.
Because I will guarantee you're not secure.
Right.
Anybody that
Right.
wants me to check their systems, they think they're secure, I'll be glad to do that because you're not.
Outsource your compliance to Andrew. What would be one other growing pain?
Same
Yeah.
with your, let's say, your marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, there's
Outsourcing
1,000 marketing people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of them.
That's true.
Okay? I can't give you advice on who to choose, but I can say this. If they're not willing to change what they do to match your company, you got
Yes.
the wrong person.
There you go.
If you have to conform to somebody else's system, they're simply selling you a marketing system.
Cookie cutter.
Okay?
Right.
Now, that may work for you,
Right.
but how do you differentiate yourself if you're using one of those?
Oh, true.
You're the same.
That's true.
Okay? I have avoided doing that because we want to be a unique voice.
Yeah.
We
That
want
makes
to
sense.
talk a language that the small business owner can understand.
Yeah,
And all the tech talk, they don't.
right.
Now, you talked about Cyber Talks. That's a meetup that we do
Yes.
once a month. And that's where either business people or techies can come in and just discuss things related to cybersecurity. We have a number of experts that join us various months, not always every time.
Yes.
But we get a wide variety of people.
Yes.
And they have a wide variety of experience.
Right.
We have people that ask about education. What certificate should they get?
Okay.
How should they get started, or these kinds of things. Others, I'm looking for jobs. Do you know where I should look?
Yes.
We get all kinds of different things. We get people to ask questions about, how do I know if I'm secure?
Right.
It's a meetup where we don't do any selling. It's an open forum.
Open forum. And you've been meeting virtually.
We meet virtually.
Okay.
We were meeting physically. COVID came along. We went virtual. We were actually doing hybrid right before it.
Hybrid before. Okay.
We've just stayed that way because we have further reach.
Right.
Nationwide,
Okay.
Actually,
yes.
I had a guy from India one month.
Yes.
Came on. So we asked him, what are they doing in India? He says, next to nothing.
Really?
It's starting to change. I've
That's
seen some
starting to
news
change.
articles that indicate India is starting to tighten up on things.
Yeah.
This is a worldwide problem. It is not just the U.S. However, the U.S. does carry the bulk of the attacks because the U.S. has the bulk of the money.
The most money over here. Yep.
And you may think your small business doesn't have money.
Compared to other countries, yeah.
It does,
Right, absolutely.
And they may only ask for $10,000 or $20,000 from you.
Yeah, and they feel like that's a lot to them,
Well, I'm just saying, small business, you got 10 or 20,000 just lying around to give it to somebody because
not just to give away, right?
Well, that's basically what you're doing if you're not compliant.
Yep, that's true. You're absolutely right. Yep.
And the thing that scares me is the lack of preparation. I fear. Please understand, I'm just a techie guy.
Right.
I fear a massive attack by somebody talented like state actors. Okay? They always target government. They don't really care about small business.
Well,
But we've already seen in the war with the Ukraine, that's starting to change.
Well, and Andrew, I don't know. I watched a documentary the other day. Google, do you remember the SolarWinds attack?
Yes, very much so.
Google went down for about a day as well that time. And everything was down. It's like Google runs. I better not say the name too loud. Oh my God. A lot of stuff, a lot of the infrastructure, and that's scary. Why should a private company have so much leverage and run so many services over everything?
I'm not necessarily against that.
I mean, I don't think concentrated power is good anywhere. Yeah.
We need a free internet. I think if you try to let the government run it, we'll have the same situation we have with all the other government-run programs.
I mean, preferably there would be alternatives outside of the government. I wouldn't even want the government to.
That's the way it works. Do you know of an alternative to Social Security besides not taking any?
Well, no. I mean, from the perspective of infrastructure that Google, like as I mentioned, Google's infrastructure went down. Most of the U.S. is actually most of the world's. I'm gonna send you a documentary on it. I watched a documentary on it, but most of the world's internet infrastructure went down. And so that means Google is simply running all of that. And same with AWS. So you kind of got AWS and Google, who are like the two big ones. It's kind of.
Well, actually, I used to work for a little company called Verizon Business.
Okay.
And in reality, probably about 50% of the internet traffic flows across their infrastructure.
Like DNS or which part of it?
They got the fiber in the ground.
Oh, the fiber. Okay.
Okay. They've got the infrastructure that we run on.
Right.
See, your ISP has to connect to somebody else.
Yep.
Okay? Otherwise, you just have this little community network.
Yeah, that's true.
So the internet is made up of thousands of these connections between various entities.
Yeah, the cables that run through the sea.
When Verizon bought MCI,
they
bought the best deal they could have had because MCI had been collecting companies and collecting long distance fiber connectivity for years.
Wow.
And so they about doubled their capacity just with that purchase. Now, I don't know where they're at today. I've been out of that company for more than 10 years.
Right.
But I know they haven't been sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
likely
still growing.
When I left, they were testing 40 gigabyte locations with longer distance between refreshes.
Well, everybody's moving into 5G as well, too, right?
Right, and the 5G, but 5G has to run on something.
It has to run on something, yeah.
Okay, so every tower is connected to
a fiber optic cable. However, what about like Neuralink? I'm sorry, not Neuralink, my bad. Starlink. Elon Musk satellites that he's launching up in space.
I think it's great he's got satellites. They still have to connect to something. Okay, I don't know their architecture, so I can't speak to that.
Right.
But most satellites still have ground stations they talk to, which then take this.
Yeah, I'm not sure about, but what the promise is that they connect anywhere in the world. That they're because he has such a large constellation of satellites, you don't even need the ground architecture. That's the promise that he's selling.
Right, and the ground architecture that we're talking about here is what we call the last mile. Okay. That connection between an ISP and your house.
Right.
That's what they're kind of filling in for, because it takes money to run that stuff.
Okay. Very interesting. I'm going to look into that because the way I watched, kind of how a gentleman set up Neuralink. Basically, they provide you with a dish that you put on top of your house,
right?
And it receives the internet directly from the satellite constellation above,
right? So
you kind of have your own little architecture, and you're completely free of anything else outside of Starlink. But I have to look.
Years back, I had one of the satellite companies' internets because I lived in an area where it was very difficult to get stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And the delay and the limitations on the amount of data you could use were really difficult to deal with.
Okay, okay. But nowadays you got Elon Musk, man. He's landing freaking rockets. I think this guy's gonna make a fast internet. You know?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
But everything has its issues.
Bottlenecks, yeah, and its issues.
Here's
That's
the thing,
true.
though. Fiber gets signals around the world faster than satellites.
Okay, okay.
Okay? That's why some of the things that didn't used to exist now exist. You can have engineers in India working on your equipment in the U.S.
And the U.S., yeah.
And paying them a tenth of what the U.S. guys were getting. That's
jobs,
okay?
I don't think anything compares to fiber right now, but we got a little bit off the questions there. Next question.
Okay.
What are the current needs of compliance specialists? Like, what will take you to the next level in your business?
Right now, in the next few months, I want as many CPAs, EAs, and tax professionals to step up their obligations. What they tell the IRS by checking on the P10 that they're compliant with the safeguarding customers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like them to actually do that by getting a compliance program with me and getting started now. Because come January, they're going to get busy.
Yeah.
And if you have things in place before then, rather than trying to start in tax season.
Right. So
what happens is they don't do it, so then they'll put it off until the end of tax season. Well, now you've got another tax season without being compliant, without being secure, and you're risking everybody who does business with you.
So this is a window of time right now, immediately that they can take advantage of it, and it's also you're going to help them, but it'll bring your business to the next level as well. You'll be able to reach more people, right?
I really want the tax professionals to step it up.
Okay.
This is my push right now.
Okay.
Because once January comes, then they don't want to talk to anybody.
They don't want to talk to anybody. Yep, that's true.
I have a number of those kinds of clients already. I want more because there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
If you're a bookkeeper, you know who the tax professionals are.
Yes.
Talk to them. If you're a CPA, not only should you be compliant, but you need to insist that everybody that you know is compliant.
Yes.
This affects everybody. This is not a specialized thing.
Right.
Specialized is doing it for the very small businesses.
Doing it for the small businesses. Yeah, that's great. So the tax specialists, CPAs, get in touch with Andrew.
Yeah.
Immediately before tax season comes around.
Get started now. Okay.
Get started now.
Go to my website, pick a program, purchase it. We'll get you rolling.
Okay, Andrew. Outside of that, I want to hear 2 short-term goals that you have for the next 2 months. Outside of that one goal of increasing those types of clients, what are 2 short-term goals that you have in your business for the next 2 months?
Next 2 months. I am personally working on communicating the benefits and trying to move from tech talk to something someone else can understand. Okay?
Okay.
I understand the reason why you need to have XYZ.
Right.
But I have to, and this is something I'm on, getting that benefit written down so that I can articulate it. Why do you need this thing? Okay.
Yes.
Why do you need this policy?
Yes.
See, I understand the stuff. I've read the rules. I've read the laws. I've read the frameworks. I know what they're talking about.
Yes.
But communicating that to a individual who's not in the tech world, is a challenge for me personally.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It's the weak part of myself.
Right.
Okay? I can build systems, I can do all kinds of techie stuff, but this is difficult for me.
Okay.
If I had a half dozen more CPAs, I could probably hire me somebody to do some of this writing for me.
Right.
Okay, so my goal would be get enough new people signed up that I can turn around and offload this to somebody else.
Somebody
And
else.
let them write it because they're good at writing.
So a good copywriter could probably help you do this.
You probably.
If they sat down and really understood everything. A good
Well, I mean,
copywriter.
working with me, I understand what I'm doing and why, but
Right.
articulating that the benefit for the customer in a way that they can understand is my hard part.
You need a tech copywriter, someone who can understand,
Kind of.
someone who can understand the lingo, translate it. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
goal one, short term.
Yep.
What's the other short term goal?
Yeah. We talked about getting more clients. That's a short-term goal too.
Yeah, but outside of that one, in the
Gosh.
next 2 months, like what are you focused on?
That's yeah.
I mean, one could be to just keep the business rolling, you know.
Well, yeah, but well, I have a second group of people that I would like to connect up with. I am connecting with them slowly,
Okay,
and they're known as MSPs or managed service providers.
managed
They're
service
IT
providers.
people
Okay,
that already have clients,
okay,
but they may not have a compliance program. And
I know some
rather
people.
than them trying to build one,
Right,
partner with them.
partner. I would say so. Collaboration, create a collaborative.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I come along and I do the monthly Zoom meetings where we discuss the policy, etc.
Yes,
Let's say it's the policy that says you need a list of everything on your network. How are you
Yes.
going to know what to protect if you don't know what you have?
yes,
Okay? Real simple. Okay? Well, who's going to do that? The IT guy.
that's right.
Okay? So it's a partnership that works well together because we generate work for the IT guy.
Okay,
Once they figure that out, they like us. We're not in competition.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
you're complementing each other. I have
Absolutely.
a guy who just came on the podcast. He's local, and you may connect well with him. His name is Derek, but I'll give you his information afterwards.
Derek of, what is it, BizTech?
BizTech,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's already got his own compliance program,
Okay,
which is fine.
which is yeah.
But there's a lot of MSPs that don't.
Right, right.
And
So if you're
they-
watching this and you're an MSP, please contact Andrew.
And if you think that having cybersecurity is the same thing,
Hmm.
I ask you two questions. Is it written?
Yeah,
Is it a policy that has teeth? In other words, you can
Okay.
get fired for violating it. Okay? If it doesn't, you're doing cybersecurity, but you're not doing compliance.
okay,
Compliance is dealing with how the business does things.
right, okay,
It isn't just having a particular widget or a
right,
particular software. Okay?
right.
And having antivirus is not enough.
That's a good distinction. It's a good distinction.
Yeah.
And it's a distinction with a difference.
Yeah.
So we did the short
MSPs
term
that
goals.
don't
Okay.
want to build their own program, want to
Yes.
partner up with us, we'll be more than glad to help them. We start first with the MSP,
Yes.
get them compliant,
Okay.
then they're ready to start talking to their customers.
Okay.
And that process, depending on the program you select, can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years.
All right.
You
All right.
don't have to do this all at once. You just have to get started.
Right on. Right on. Now we're gonna hit your future goals, Andrew.
Okay.
3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. Where do you see compliance specialists at in the next 3 years?
Nationwide, any small U.S. business anywhere in the United States is our goal.
Yes. Okay.
I don't have specific numbers for that.
Right.
It really depends on getting the message out and getting people to realize they must do this.
Okay.
This is something you need to decide as a business owner as part of your operating expenses on a monthly basis. This is not
Yes.
something you purchase and leave alone. It is a constantly evolving, constantly moving target that you
Yes.
have to protect your business from. Those internet criminals out there are getting more sophisticated all the time.
Oh, and we haven't even hit like quantum computers yet. Right?
I don't even want to think about that.
That's gonna go crazy. Woo. Well, maybe now your next milestone that we're talking about is 5 years. Quantum computers. Let's say they're around. Oh my goodness, what's gonna happen?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Right,
okay?
right.
That's the other part of this business. On my side of it, constantly keeping up with the new rules and regulations, watching where the technology is going,
Right.
and figuring out what do we need next.
Okay,
to
so
protect
let's not
ourselves.
even consider quantum computers. But in 5 years, what's your goal?
To have delegated enough of the business that I'm mostly just directing it.
Nice. Okay.
Okay? In other words, I want to replicate myself because we need compliance, understandable people working with clients. They
Yes.
need to know what compliance is. They need to read the laws. They need to know what they're doing. A cybersecurity degree
Mm-hmm.
is helpful,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean you have to start with one.
Right.
Okay? So I will need people that will come alongside and learn.
Like apprenticeships?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Maybe they're in school and they're doing learning. Okay?
Yes.
Here's the thing. I've designed this business to be virtual.
First. Awesome.
Okay? Virtual to the end point, virtual for other people that work in the business.
Are you open to interns at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So if you're watching this and you're a student, you're in college, are listening to this, Andrew is open to offering internships.
Go to your college and ask them to get in contact with me so that the internship
Perfect.
program runs through your college.
Perfect. So you can get college credit for that. That'd be
Absolutely.
perfect. Yep.
Yeah, don't waste it.
Right. Yeah. Seriously. All right. So we hit 5
10
years,
years.
Andrew. 10 years.
10 years, probably sell the business.
Sell it. Exit.
It'll probably be
Okay.
time for me to go fishing or whatever it is I'm going to
Yeah.
do. I don't know.
Yeah. No. You have. And the great thing is you have everything documented. You're ready to. You built it to sell it.
Yeah, I'm constantly writing my own operating procedures, standard operating procedures, SOPs,
Yes.
they're
Yep.
called. Part of because of what I grew up. I grew up into the corporate world.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
corporate world required you to
That's-
write things down,
SOPs,
to document things.
Right.
Okay? And when I came into the small business world, finding businesses that didn't have anything written down really blew my mind.
It's pretty. Yeah. It's pretty prevalent.
Oh, well, Betty knows it. Okay, and when Betty has a stroke, what are you going to do?
I know.
You're going to go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah.
Not easily replaceable. Yeah, that's really a bad thing. That's like I learned like a few years back, man, you got to have, standard operating procedures for everything,
Yeah.
like smallest of tasks. That's
Well,
right.
and you said it yourself. You have a video guy.
Yes.
You
Yep.
release that to somebody else to take
Yep.
care of. Okay?
Yep. He
This
just
is what small business needs to do.
right.
This is an area they don't generally like to I just run my computers until they break.
Right.
Not
Oh
a good
man.
idea.
Not a good idea. Nope.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Well, Andrew, this has been a great interview. I want people to find you online, where you're at, all of your locations. So can you tell us how can they get in touch with you, become a part of, your ecosystem and what you're doing?
You can find me on Alignable, Google My Business, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can also find my website from any of those sources, or just go to compliancespecialistusa.com.
compliancespecialistusa.com.
Right. Because we're only interested in servicing United States small business.
Yes.
That's why we put the USA at the end.
I like it.
Okay.
You know, and they got that .us too. So that one, I don't know if you consider that one.
I have.
Okay.
But I don't want to generate confusion, so we use just the one.
Right.
But the point is, U.S. businesses is our focus.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to deal with international. If you're an international company, you probably are much bigger than I could deal with anyway. So there's no sense even coming and talking to me.
Right.
But if you're a small business, or even if you have just a few locations, let's say you've got a couple branch offices, you need it.
Need it.
If you're independent, independent real estate, independent insurance,
yes,
you are definitely handling personally identifiable information. What's known as PII.
Okay.
Yeah, it just the need is so great. I have a hard time saying
it enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, get in touch with Andrew, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew, also one more thing. If they wanted to maybe come to your meetup, how would they get in touch? How would they find you?
Look up Cyber Talks on the meetup, and you can find us.
Okay. Meetup.com. Cyber Talks on Meetup.com.
Yes.
Check out his meetup, and maybe you want to scope his meetup, talk to him at the meetup, and then hire him.
Also, if you contact us through the website,
yes,
we can set up a one-on-one.
Yes. Okay, great. So
I can talk directly to business owners, and we can see if we're a fit.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you for coming on the Founders Podcast, Andrew.
Hey, I love Zoom.
I know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Founders Podcast in the books. We thank you for watching, listening, or however you're tuning in. If you are tuning in on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, any of those, give us a 5-star rating and share it with friends. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click the like button, click the bell, subscribe to our channel, and share this with family and friends. Once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Founders Podcast. We're here with Andrew Crawford, and now we are out. Peace.